edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin. And today we have in the studio with us, we have Mr. Joe Person. And I think that everybody in Oakland County that has a phone or has a TV set or has a radio knows who Joe Person is. And I'll let him give a lot of his credentials and a lot of his activism that he does in Oakland County with all of the elected officials, the politicians, the wannabe politicians, everybody out there in Oakland County. And then on the phone, we also will have Joe Rutherford, who also, as Joe's credentials have him in Oakland County, Joe's credentials have him in Macomb County. Joel also used to be the chair of the 10th Congressional District in Macomb County as well, under the gentleman that's running on the Republican side for the gubernatorial support here in the state of Michigan. But today we're going to really kind of dig a little deep into the political arena. I'm hoping all of you know, there was just recently an election that we had in the primary on Tuesday for the various positions, but the main positions that a lot of people were really, the nation was keeping track of, was about the governor's race in Michigan and the Senate race here in Michigan. Because as many of you know, Gary Peters is not running for re-election. And currently he is the senior senator for the state of Michigan under Alyssa Slotkin. And what we also realize too is that Governor Whitmer is term limited out. She did 2 terms, and each term that she did was 4 years apiece. And she is termed out. So that means there is an open seat at the top of the State House in the gubernatorial mansion. So those 2 seats are looked upon very, very highly by both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And as it is right now, the governor's race was not a close race, and that was consisting of this current Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, who is now the gubernatorial candidate representing the Democratic side. And now she will face off in November, on November the 3rd, against the Republican candidate who is currently the 10th Congressional District representative in Congress, and that is John James. On the Democratic side for Senate, the candidate that won that election was Abdul El Said, who's with the health department here in the state of Michigan. Especially, I believe a lot of his credentials are here in Detroit. And Dr. Abdul El Said, let me make sure I get his title right. And then he is running against the gentleman that ran for Senate 2 years ago against current Senator Alyssa Slotkin, and he was a former congressional person, and that is Mike Rogers, the Honorable Mike Rogers. So a lot of the nation was really concerned about how these races were going to fare out. But because of the tight race that existed between Haley and Abdul, and a lot of people were really looking at that race very highly because he is a Muslim man. And there were a lot of people that were wondering, were we going to look at getting the first Muslim senator in the nation? Because if I'm not mistaken, and Joel, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe we have any U.S. senators that are Muslim descent. And we have people that are in the House. You know, a lot of people mention about Congresswoman AOC They mentioned about Rashida Tlaib, and I believe there's one or two more. You know, a lady in Minnesota, and I'm not sure what
Iman.
the other person.
Iman.
Iman, right? I think she's Minnesota, isn't she?
Yes.
And so Joel, you know, step in, you know, in terms of saying, like I said, I'm not perfect at all by no means. So if there's any, you know, any corrections, I would appreciate, you know, that. But the other thing that people are looking at too, when we're talking about history being made here in Michigan, is that a lot of people realize that we had Bill Lucas, William Lucas, ran for governor many, many years ago, and he was a black man. Now we have John James running for this gubernatorial race. And this could be historic in the state of Michigan because he is a black man running for that top seat here in the state of Michigan. And this would be history being made. You know, we already had history made here in the city of Detroit by electing our first African American female mayor. We've had people to run, but we have to be celebrated with Mary Sheffield's win for mayor. And we've had a lot of firsts here in the state of Michigan. I think about Melody McGee on the city council out in Warren. You know, and I look at so many other people, but we've had a lot of history. You know, Richard Austin was our first African American Secretary of State here in the state of Michigan. Garland Gilchrist was our first African American lieutenant governor for the state of Michigan. And so I don't believe that we have had an attorney general who is of African American descent. So there's a possibility of, you know, other races that we could, you know, get people that could be of African American descent in. But Joe Rutherford, I know we got you on the phone. Joe, are you tuned in with us this morning?
Oh yes, oh yes. Sorry, couldn't make it in, but glad to join you this way.
Well, we're glad to have you in this conversation. But Joel, I'm gonna ask you first. Talk to us. Joe Person is here in the studio with me, and talk to us a little bit about what's on your mind. What were some of the things that you saw in this recent election that you were concerned about, or that you were emphatic about?
Well, first of all, I got to say hello to my brother veteran there, Joe. But it's, you know, Darwin, I think that the thing that concerned me the most was just how, I don't know, how vile some people got. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to get that ugly about things. Because to me, it's like this, you know, we should all be looking to do what's best for our communities, what's best for our state. And prop up, you know, the candidates that you're supporting, but to go after each other in ways that I saw, you know, made social media things. I'm thinking most of these people would not say that to someone's face, you know, but they'll be those keyboard warriors and do that. That was what was most concerning, because the fact of it is that, you know, when the primary's done, that we have to find a way to come together to get whoever won that primary elected. I think what was good to see was a lot of young folks were certainly involved. They really, they showed up. I mean, and they voted too. And I'm hoping that, you know, that enthusiasm and everything continues on through November. But yeah, there was good stuff. I mean, it's always good to see the diversity that's there. That's always a good thing. And like I said, I just hope that, you know, the temperature and you know, that people can bring it down, you know, that they can start just being, you know, you can agree to disagree but not be disagreeable.
Well, and that's probably the one thing that probably is tough when it comes down to, there was a lot of rancor. There was a lot of, you know, harsh comments, negative comments that were made about other candidates that were in races with people. And, you know, how do you come back from having a lot of negative comments being made about each other and then turn around one day on the 4th of August and see who was victorious and who may have learned a lesson as a result of the election, and to say, hey, I know I said this about you or I said that about you, but now let's all come together and let's unify. And now we have bigger fish to fry in November. But a lot of times the damage was done with the words that were said. And now you want people to come back and say, hey, all right, that was yesterday and this is today. So now we need to come together, forget about what I said yesterday, and let's come together and unite and, worry about the Democratic Party and be unified, united, so that we can all go and be victorious in November. And the Republicans are saying the same thing. So it's really interesting, Joe, that we really have a lot of work that we have to do to try and get both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, united. And I really will say this about the Democrats. We gave them a lot of ammunition about the Republicans, I'd say 4 years ago or 8 years ago. This year, we gave the Republicans a lot of ammunition about us that they can throw at the Democrats come November. So it's going to be interesting the way that everything is going to kind of pan out. You don't like that. But, Joe, what are your thoughts?
8 years ago, when it was announced that Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist was the candidate for Lieutenant Governor, I remember at not the Memorial Day parade, the Labor Day parade, and I told him, I'm glad that you're in this race, but I can't wait for 8 years down the road for you to run for governor. That would have been a hell of a race, that governor against two black men fighting it out for the governorship. And of course, he stepped down. He did not get an endorsement. I have some concerns, but at the end of the day, the election was ugly. And let's keep this real. Democrats gave Republicans enough fodder to put in their guns to shoot come November. So we're going to see what's going to happen, come November. The young people came out, and when you break down the election, Haley Stevens won all of the black vote where it counted. Dr. Abdul El Sayed won all of the other places with all of the kids and everybody, all of the youth movement. The question becomes, as Joel said, will they show up in November? That's the issue. That's the issue. So let's keep it moving. Let's see what happens. I'm excited though. I like this fight. So let's keep it going. Let's keep talking about it. But we're going to have to come over and all of us come together, sit down and put a strategy together. We're going to have to get out there in the streets. We're going to have to campaign like we campaigned for Obama. That's real, because that's what it's going to take. Because they're going to throw a lot of things at us, and then we have the dissension that's within the Democratic Party. That's real.
Well, Joe, you had a lot of interesting races out there in Macomb County. Looking at the races out there in Macomb County, there was the race to replace the John James in the 10th Congressional District. There was also the race to, if I'm not mistaken, to replace Haley Stevens in her Congressional District, District 11. And did any of those races surprise you, or were you kind of anticipating the people that came out of the Democratic and the Republican sides?
Honestly, Darwin, in the 10th congressional, I would say, Christina was favorite, but not a shoe-in. So it was really one of those things to see how the votes shook out, because all three of the candidates seemed to appeal to different groups of people and different voters. So, it was hard to tell, like, okay, what's really going to happen? Christina was successful, Christina Hines. She'll be our, representative for the Democratic side for Congressional District 10. And I guess Sheriff Bouchard's son is going to be on the Republican side. So, we'll see how that goes. I'm sure that's going to be a battle. For Haley Stevens, that's Oakland County, and I'm sure Joe would know more about that than I would. But, it seemed that, things kind of went, I think, in a way people thought. I know from my state senator, Paul Bueno, he's, term limited. He's done this year. So Amanda Treppa and State Rep Natalie Price, ran for in that primary. And, Rep Price was victorious. But, Amanda Treppa really, she showed a lot. I mean, because she put everything on the line, and she just did all the work she possibly could, and the voters decided otherwise, and sometimes that's how it goes.
Well, Joe, before I get to Joe, so the seat that Mallory McMorrow is in currently, who was running for her seat?
Again, that's Oakland County, and Joe would know better on that than I would, because I'm just, this redistricting and stuff, sometimes I have to try, it's hard to keep track of who's where now, but she's more Oakland,
In Oakland County then. Yeah, because the way that this redistricting went, it's almost like difficult to separate the 11th district from the 10th district, and knowing, like Royal Oak, Ferndale, Troy, some of those cities that go up along that I-75 corridor as to whether or not if they're in Oakland or if they're in Macomb County. And I know I got the two experts on the, in the studio with me to kind of maybe to dissect some of that, especially with all of the activity that Joe does, and his wife Sharon in the 11th congressional district. But Joe, I'll ask you then. So, was there any real surprises that you saw, especially in the congressional house, for like the persons that may be taking Haley Stevens' spot?
Okay, first of all, let me correct. We're in the 12th congressional district.
Oh, that's right, because you're the lower part of
lower part
okay.
of.
But then some of northern Oakland is
some of
that's
that is
the
some of
11th
those too.
district,
Some
right?
of that
okay,
too.
okay.
But
See, when I think of you, I think of all of Oakland, not just
right.
the
But we
southern
kind of
part.
involved,
Okay, all right.
because I am on the Oakland County Democratic Party. I'm also on Oakland County Democratic Party too, so we're active. No, it panned out just like it was. You were asking who's running for that state Senate seat. Natalie Price was running for that.
For the seat for that Amanda Treppa was that she was
Right,
running
that was for
against
state senator.
the two of them. Okay.
That was state senator.
Okay.
Yeah.
In reference to the 11th congressional district for U.S. Congress, that was a shoe, and that was going to be Jeremy Moss. Jeremy Moss, whether we agree and
What is he currently now?
Oh, he's our state representative.
Okay.
He's our state representative. And then Jason Hoskins ran for his seat. So it was like, and Jeremy Moss had great coattails. That's another story I'll tell you about. Jason Hoskins won the state senator seat, but Jeremy Moss won that. And even though the young lady that was running against him and the other folks, they showed, but they failed, coming to the finish line. And Jeremy just took control of it. Jeremy was going to win the U.S. Congress because he has a record of, while we have our concerns and issues, what we think he should have did, he didn't do. When it comes time to certain issues, he will fight. But you just got to get in his face and say, Jeremy, I need you to fight for this issue. And he will listen. And like I said, we go backwards and forth. As a matter of fact, he wants to help us with the rally over in Southfield and bring Abdul El Said, all of the individuals who won, including Donovan McKinney. We just want the winners, to come over and let's do another politics in the park, maybe in the, inside the pavilion. But there was no, it panned out the way I thought it would, except for one of the things, Shadia Martini, who ran against Jason Hoskins, who is Muslim, awesome campaign, but a lot of people had issue with Oakland County is a different county. Once you get past 10, 12 mile, 10 to 12, 13 mile, it's a bellwether state. You can't tell a Democrat from a Republican. That's why we say Oakland County is a purple county as opposed to a blue county or a red county. Depends on the issue. And
when you say purple county, explain to the viewers, what do you mean when you say
okay,
purple county?
we're an issue-oriented county. For example, we let's just use the county sheriff, who's Mike Bouchard. When he ran against Vince Gregory several years ago, every Democrat won, literally in Oakland County, except for the county sheriff. The reason that is that the people don't look at the county sheriff as a Democrat or Republican. They look at it law and order. So they pick the issues. So the Democrats in in Oakland County will vote for a Republican. That's real. That's why you say it's a purple state. That means that it's not all the way red. It's not all the way blue. It's a purple state, and depending on the issue. And it is what it is. There are a lot of people that are well liked in Oakland County, but there are a lot of people that they tolerate in Oakland County. But they vote for them regardless to whether they're Democrat or Republican.
Well, let's kind of jump ahead a little bit, and we'll go into the 13th and the 12th, in a minute. But Joel, I definitely want to get your viewpoint, and then I'll ask Joe afterwards. What's your thoughts about this Senate race? And now there was a hard-fought battle between Haley and Abdul, and as many of the voters know, that Mallory McMorrow was also in that race. She decided to suspend her candidacy, and that left Abdul and Haley to be the two people that were on the ballot. She was still on the ballot, though, because a lot of people had to spoil their ballots that had voted absentee. But because she, suspended her campaign late in the game, her name was still on the ballot. And a lot of people did vote for her absentee. But then when you looked at Abdul, you looked at Haley, now Abdul won by a very close margin, in that race. What do you think now, Joel, that Abdul has to do? Because a lot of people, a lot of the pundits looked at the numbers, and when they crunched the numbers, they saw that Haley in a lot of the predominantly black communities throughout the state of Michigan, she won. And especially here around the Tri-County, area, like Highland Park, Detroit, Inkster, some of those cities. But now a lot of people are saying that she needs to, he needs to go, and he needs to see if he can secure some of those voters that Haley was really strong in those communities at. So what do you think the messaging that needs to be said to Abdul, Joel, that he needs to follow between now and Election Day?
Well, I think he's going to have to build those bridges, because, Congresswoman Stevens won Wayne County. She won Oakland County. She won Macomb County. And especially, like you said, in black communities, she did overwhelmingly. So that right there should tell, Dr. Al-Sayed that it's like, look, this is where you got to put some work in. Because the fact of it is that, we know that you can't take the black community for granted. You can't just say, oh, I'm the Democratic nominee, so automatically you're going to vote for me. doesn't work that way anymore. So he's going to have to do that outreach, and he's going to have to make sure that, first of all, mend those fences, because there's definitely a lot of bumps and bruises after that primary. So I'm sure that you got to go and mend those fences, but also you don't have a whole lot of time. The general election's first part of November 4th or so. So he's got to get out there, keep the constituency that he has, but it's about addition. And he's got to go to, at least from my perspective, and do all the outreach that he can with black voters and make sure that he can turn folks out at the polls. But by doing that, he's got to offer, okay, what's your plan? Because that's what it comes down to. Black voters want to know, like, okay, what are you going to do for us? And that's something that he's got to, succinctly and directly be able to define. And the one thing I will say is Abdul's a smart, sharp person, and he can do that. He just has to put the time and the effort into it to make that happen.
Well, that's a great point, Joel, and we got to take a break. So when we come back, we'll get Joe Person's perspective on the Senate race as well, too. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss Joe and Joel on Truth to Power this morning. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Matter. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
We are now streaming on Alexa. That's right, we're streaming our TV audio worldwide on Alexa. To get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
now Alexa will allow you to listen to your favorite TV programs. Remember, to get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
We're streaming our TV audio worldwide.
TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us to WHPS channel 15.2.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
In the studio with me, I have none other than Joe Person, who's Oakland County, true and true, and then I've got Macomb County, bred, born and raised. I believe, were you born in Macomb County, Joe?
No.
So where do you originate from? Because I know, Joe, I know you're not Oakland County where
Washington,
you were born
D.C.
at, right? Where's your hometown at, Joe?
Ypsilanti.
Okay, so you Washtenaw County.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay. And before we get started back, Joel, tell a little bit about your family history. I mean, I know that is it your father that has a lot of recognition in Washington County?
Yeah, my dad was he retired as director of Parks and Recreation for the city of Ypsilanti, but he was also a commissioner on the Huron Clinton Metro Parks. He was the president of Michigan Recreation and Park Association, and and now the only outdoor pool there in Ypsilanti is named after him, Rutherford Pool. It's on Congress Street in Ypsi.
Wow. Okay. We'd love to get this history like this. So, do you still keep close ties with Ypsilanti?
Oh yeah. I'm a board member on Rutherford Pool's a 501c3, and what actually happens with that is the city has to own it because of the property and everything. But we do everything else. We take care of maintenance, pay salaries, soup to nuts as far as everything that goes with the running of the pool and everything else that needs to happen. In fact, tomorrow I'll be down there because we have our kids' triathlon. So I'll be down for that.
I knew about your father and connected with the Ypsilanti and with Parks and Recreation, and I knew about the pool, but I didn't know that you were on the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess
it happened by accident. So, someone called me and just out of the blue and said, "Hey, are you related to Jesse Rutherford?" I was like, "Yeah, it's my dad. Why?" So, and then they explained to me that what happened with the pool was the city disbanded its Parks and Recreation department, and the neighborhood there in the area basically kind of ran the pool, and eventually they set up a 501c3 so they could fundraise and everything, and that's how, because I always thought, well, the city owned it, because I was away in the military, and I'd come back and thought, oh, the city's got everything going,
Wow, did not know that. I guess we get a lot of firsts here on Truth to Power. But let's go back then. But with this Abdul, Joel, we were talking during the break, and you were talking a little bit about what you were mentioning about Abdul and what some of the things that he needs to do to make sure that he shores up the African American vote.
I think that he's definitely going to have to do that. Yesterday at the Unity breakfast, as a matter of fact, Joel and I were, discussing that then. He's going to have to sit down and give us a plan. You see, in 2018, he was talking of some things that he wanted to do, Medicaid for all, health care for all, single payer, but there was no plan. You're going to have a plan, but you're going to have to sit down and talk with the black folk in the three counties, Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne, and you can't just dismiss us. During the election, there was some things, like I said, there'll be some fences that are mended. In Southfield, we could never get him to come and speak to our, Southfield Dem Club. And it was like, wow. And some other clubs, said the same thing. But he had to run the whole state, and I'm not going to make excuses for him. If you don't come talk to our club, like you say, we did 65% for Haley Stevens. I think we're somebody that you need to come and sit down and talk with to help you win in November. There was a lot of things that were done that were good, and there's the bad and there's the ugly. The ugly part about this is people assume that black folk are just going to vote. That 85%, or like you say, 92% of black women that vote, well, the other number is 77% of black men vote. That's 85% of black folk that vote Democratic, straight Democratic. It may not be that same way this time. So he's going to have to come in and he's going to have to sit down, he's going to have to talk, and it just can't be smoke and mirror. It has to be authentic. But he's perceived as a fighter. People want to see a fight. Now, on the other hand, dealing with Mike Rogers is a military man, has a background of intelligence and everything. And I know that he's done the intelligence work, or opposition research, as everybody want to call it. But him being in the military, he's done the intelligence work in terms of looking at how to win as opposed to how to lose. And Dr. Abdul El Sayed is going to have to really do some work. He's going to have to come and sit down and talk with us. This is not a slam dunk. We just going to go with this, because there's another factor when we get to it that happened in this race that everybody in the black community really has a concern, and we'll talk about that when you get to the Secretary of State. I just think that the U.S. Senate is going to be a hard-fought race, and already you seeing that Trump has come out saying this guy's cuckoo, he's this, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, he's over here, he's a socialist and everything. And like you said, what was it, 500,000 more people voted in the primary? But that was a primary for basically for Democrats. Okay, let's see what happens in November. We're going to have to really do some work. And the other thing is, his candidacy, his campaign is going to have to put some money into the black community. There's no longer this, we just going to volunteer. You can't do the boogeyman. Well, if you don't vote for him, what is it, the lesser of two evils? If you don't vote for him, that's not going to work anymore. That used to scare black people into voting, and they go vote. That's not going to happen. He's going to have to put some money into these black communities. And I'm not talking about how they usually do. Bring somebody in to tell me how to run a campaign in Southfield or Oakland County. He's going to have to bring some money in here and choose the people that we want, or actually pay the people. I'm saying some of the precinct delegates to get out there and work, because a lot of the precinct delegates know the area, and a lot of the people that you're bringing in don't know the area.
So you're saying basically, Joe, that he needs to invest in the black communities.
Yes.
And, in terms of, say, in advertisement, in appearing on
your
various
black
radio,
station that you have
TV
here,
shows.
right?
Okay.
Your black station that you have here, he needs to spend some money here. Okay, let's stop all this playing and talk around it and everything. Spend some money with the black organizations. Get on black social media. This particular studio, they need to automatically have an ongoing running ad. If it costs $300 to sponsor a show, then they automatically need to come in here with $25,000, $30,000 and say, hey, we want you to run this all the way from now until the end of the election. Flat out. Let's stop this playing, and we got to be scared, because like I said, I'm not looking for a job. I'm not broke, so I don't need to ask for permission with them. Whether they like me, dislike, I care less. At the end of the day, spend money with black people, because that's what's not been happening in the history of not just this state, across America when it comes to black folk. Everybody takes us for granted. He can't do that. If he wants to be the first in the United States Muslim to be elected to the U.S. Senate, then he's going to have to come to the table. He's going to have to he's going to have to spend some money in the black community. And you cannot just pick black people. Here's the thing, what I've seen. Most of the people that run for office that are white and don't look like us, they tend to pick a black person that represents them, not the black person that's going to do the work and represent us. That's where we're at right now. So if they choose not to do that, they're going to lose. And then there's the other factor. A lot of black people, one of the comments that was made to me while I was out canvassing in Lathrop Village, this white man came out and he just said to me, and it was so vile how he said it, I'm not voting for an Egyptian. And it was the way I've heard white men call black people out of our name back in the day when we were running, and still calling us out our name. So when I heard that, I went out there and I was canvassing. I said, wow, he said this? Until then, a lot of people didn't know he was Egyptian, but I tell people, he's black. Egyptians are black over there in Africa. So while we sitting here trying to pretend not only he's going to be one of the first Muslims, if he wins, he's black. He's Egyptian. That's Africa.
And people need to even know from the Bible,
Right.
how history is and geography.
Exactly. So we got, and you should not, let me just keep this real. Don't forsake your people, because black people are your people too. We're your people first before all of these other folks, because you come from Africa. Your whole history is from Egypt. Remember, everybody forgets when you go. A lot of us haven't been to Egypt, and when you go over there and look at the pyramids, and the pyramids,
And
and
the
you see
Sphinx and
the
all of the
Sphinx,
different
and you
statues,
see
right.
where Napoleon Bonaparte went over there and shot the noses off, because the noses look like our noses, thick noses, thick lips. They shot it off because you got to hide that history. So, folks, don't get this twisted. The man is a black man that just happens to be, like you say, he's Egyptian, but that's black. So let's don't say, well, he's Arab, or he's just a Muslim.
You know, that is so interesting. And Joe, you can chime in anytime as well, because, you look at the Statue of Liberty.
Yes,
When it came over here,
yes,
the Statue of Liberty had a more African features
Right.
on her face.
right,
And the other thing that's interesting too is that they had to then Europeanize her features and make her have a more pronounced nose as opposed to a flatter nose. And then the other thing that people don't really realize too, that this was a black woman, because the one thing that they did not take off of her ankle was the shackle
right.
that is on the Statue of Liberty's ankle
Today,
today.
that's it. And most of us, like I said, go to Ellis Island. Go, you know what I mean? We had to really get out and go do our own homework in terms of our history.
Well, and Joel, let me kind of, we'll probably, I know we don't have you for that long after, we take this next break. But Joel, I just want to ask you too now. Let's go into the governor's race. Mm-hmm. And Joel, any thoughts about the governor's race now that we've narrowed down the field to where it's now Jocelyn versus John James? Any thoughts on that?
Well, just to kind of tie into what Joe said earlier, Jocelyn Benson is going to need to spend money in the black community too, with black media and everything else. Now, watch and see if John James does that, though. He's been my congressman now for the last 4 years or so, and he hasn't held a town hall. Won't really meet with constituents unless it's a very controlled environment. And, that's bothersome to me, because it's like, well, if you're not going to meet the people in your congressional district, how are you going to meet with the folks if you want to be governor? Because you can't do it from, Betsy DeVos's basement. I mean, it's one of these things where, he has to be out with the people. And it just, from my perspective, I just haven't seen that. Now, when it comes to Jocelyn Benson, I think it's one of these things where, I'm not going to lie, I was disappointed that, that Garland Gilchrist dropped out of the race. Hey, if he couldn't get the support, or, especially couldn't get the donors, that's just the way that is. But it's sad that, you have John James as a black man running, and the Dems, weren't able to basically counter that. Because unfortunately, to me, okay, John James is running, but that's almost like saying, well, Clarence Thomas replaced Thurgood Marshall. So, it's like, what's the old saying about all skin folk ain't kinfolk? And I mean, that's one of the things that people also have to keep in mind. But, it's going to be interesting to see, especially to see who they pick as far as for their lieutenant governor, to see who they want on their team. That's gonna show a lot. I think, for Secretary Benson, be curious to see, if she tries to get somebody that's more, say, west side of the state or northern part of the state, or what she's going to do. But, it'll be the same thing for John James, because, that's going to show voters, like, okay, who you aligned with. And, but also, for the black community, we got to look at who's going to be right for us, because we have to keep that in mind. And that's something that we have to press both of them about, is what's their plan for us? Not just their donors, but for us. Because, again, if they want our vote, because I can go back to when John James, I remember, ran against Debbie Stabenow for Senate, and, you know, knocking on doors and stuff. And there were black voters that were considered strong Dems that had John James signs in their lawn.
Yes.
And so I talked to him and say, hey, you know, you're a strong Democrat here, but you got John James in there. And some of them, you know, just said, hey, you know, he's a black man that's running for this. I want to see a black man in the Senate. And that's where I kind of had to explain a little bit more about, well, I do too, but we want to get the right black person in there, whether it be male or female, doesn't matter to me. But again, we don't want to trade, you know, Thurgood Marshall for Clarence Thomas. And that's what we have to be careful about.
Here's another perspective. And I just look at this. When I came up here to Michigan, they said this is the Mississippi in the north. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example. That what Joel just said is right, but here's the thing. If they have a chance, Democrats have a chance of capturing the governor's seat, Secretary of State, Attorney Generals, U.S. Senate, and they really have an opportunity to win. It has been my observation, and this is the fact, the numbers prove it is what it is. They don't push a black person. They push a white person. The Republicans, on the other hand, while it's the next man up, but if they don't think that they're going to win it, then they will push a black man. But here's the thing. The mega people will get behind certain people, like they're down there in terms of Florida. Byron Donaldson, I think that's his name, Byron Donalds, who's running for governor. He's 34 points up right now, 34 points up over Democrat period. Well, I said 3 months is a long time. I just see a pattern in America. When they can win, they don't push people like us. When they're losing, they'll indirectly push people like us if they're going to lose. Democrats got a hell of a chance possibly of winning. The difference is the strategy. John James, when he ran against Debbie Stabenow, as I say, he came over and knocked on my door, and I told him I wasn't the chair of the Democratic Club. He said, no, I'm reaching out to the people who actually do the work. Their ground game is unbelievable. When Trump ran this last year, he had people up here from Mississippi that I met, that I was out canvassing every day for Kamala Harris. I was out canvassing. I was meeting John James. I was meeting Trump's people for breakfast, lunch, or dinner when I would be coming in or going out. So their ground game is what's important. But at the end of the day, if, as I say, if Democrats have a real chance of winning, they're not pushing us. They're not. And that's something that Joel, you, me, Darwin, all of the black leadership everywhere need to sit down at this table and say, why you won't push one of us for these important positions? In Oakland County, we've never had a black county exec. We've never had a black treasurer. We've had some success at mayor, like Brenda Lawrence became the first black female mayor of Southfield. Deidre Waterman, I think, was other black people before her, but a female. I'm just saying, in these particular cities, they don't push necessarily black folk unless it's a high concentrate of black people. And folks, Joel, all of us, you, Darwin, all of us are to remember, and let's be real, the only way a black person wins in any election, I don't care if it's from I don't care if it's from dog catcher to the White House, we come to vote for him. Obama got 85% of the black vote in 2008. In 2012, he got 95%. Unless we come to vote, it doesn't happen for us, because the people that don't look like us, they don't vote for us in the numbers like how we vote for them. That's true. And everybody wants to dance around this, oh, if you say that, it's negative. Listen, why is it that when I say something, it's negative, but when you say something and you don't look like me, it's facts? I'm tired of this. So again, as I say, they're going to have to spend some money, as you said. Jocelyn Benson going to have to come in here and spend $25,000, $30,000 and have an ongoing commercial with this station, because it's a small station trying to survive. Come help you survive, because I look at the pictures on the wall here, all of these great people that you've helped get elected, but they ain't spending no money. It's time for everybody, and I'm saying it first, I'm laying down the gauntlet. Spend some money with this station, spend some money with the other podcasters and different things, and put some money in the black community. You want Oakland County, Southfield Lake Village Dem Club, and the other LLCs and the precinct delegates to get out there and work for y'all Democrats. Go ahead and spend some money, because let me just tell you this. Today is the second day John James just won this Tuesday. Guess what? His people have already contacted me saying, what can we do for you to come and help us? That's a shame for God. And all I got out of our group was, we went and had a unity breakfast, and it was just a continental breakfast of just fruit and some buns and bagels. But we're not talking about strategy. You're going to have to spend some money. This is going to be a very costly election for the governor, the Senate, the Attorney General's office, and the Secretary of State. And, it is what it is, folks. So I'm just saying, spend some money with us and stop all this talking.
Well, that's the thing, Joe. Candidates can't take the black vote for granted.
Yes.
Just because of the fact that we're black, and the same thing with the media, same thing with the newspapers. They can't just take for granted that they don't have to spend money with us because of the fact that they automatically think that we're going to vote for them because of the fact that they're Democrats. This is not the safe seats like what a lot of people think, that we're going to be the safe seats, and the Democratic Party even needs to spend money with us as well. Not just the candidates, but the party needs to spend money, because if they're trying to get their candidates elected, it's the party all the way across, from the state reps, state senators, commissioners, city council people, all of them. They also have a vested interest in the Democratic Party. So we got to start from the top, which is Curtis Hertel, who's the Democratic Party chair, all the way down to everybody else in the Democratic Party. And like you, like Joel, like others that are regarding those Democratic clubs and the Democratic organizations, like you with the Black Caucus in Oakland County, like Joel with the congressional district, in the 10th district, and with NAACP and with the Black Caucus. I mean, we got to go, and when we request money from the Democratic Party, they need to give us money so that we can do some of the things on the local levels. But Joel, I don't know how much more time we got to wrap this segment up. I don't know if you got any more time that you can spend with us. If not, but I want you to just make really a quick 30-second closing remark real quick before we take a break. But Joel,
I appreciate you having me, and it's one of these things that they're going to have to show up, and they're going to have to show us that they're serious about this, because them days of a sandwich and a bag of chips is not going to cut it anymore.
Good point, Joel. Good point, Joel. All right, well, we got to take a break. We have had Joel Rutherford, Macomb County extraordinaire, man about town, man about the community, and a public servant and a phenomenal father, husband, and pet owner So, and a military man. So again, Joe, thank you as always. We love you here at WHPR TV. So again, we're about to take a break. We'll be right back with Joe Person, and we're hoping that we also will get our general manager here at the station, Miss Maxine Willis, to join us on the second hour. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Darwin.
Tune in to the I Love the Hustle show, Saturday afternoons at 12 p.m., followed by Mr. Smooth's Ballroom and Steppers Express Dance Show on WHPR 15.2 Detroit, Apple TV, Roku, and many streaming platforms. See you Saturday.
If you enjoy the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us to WHPS channel 15.2. Every Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 3 p.m., it's the Tavis Smiley Show on WHPR TV and Radio 15.2. Also seen on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, iPhone, and Android. That's the Tavis Smiley Show on WHPR TV and Radio. Download the WHPR TV app for iOS, Android, and Roku. The Tavis Smiley Show, distributed by RJ Watkins Studios. Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
WGPR Detroit HD3.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
Listening to and watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. This is our post-election show, and we were joined by Joe Rutherford of Macomb County. We still have Joe Person here in the studio with us, and now we have on the line the Queen Mother here at WHPR TV, and that is our general manager, station manager. She wears so many different hats here at the station. And she is also Mario Willis and Marvin Willis's mother. But we have none other than Miss Maxine Willis. Miss Willis, you are on the air. You are live. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, sir. I've been listening to you for the last hour, and you and Joe and Joel, and I tell you, you're going to have to bear with me this morning because my emotions are all over the place. After hearing the show this morning and thinking about what's at stake here, you know, I'm excited about the role that we played. I am just excited about what I've learned this morning on this station, listening to you and your guests. and realizing the potential that we have to be a part of helping our viewers, not telling them who to vote for, but as a community television broadcast station, it is our role and responsibility to provide our viewers with information that will help them make informed decisions. And just hearing what I'm hearing, looking at the history of the role that we played with the advertising that we did during this primary season. But let me say this, Mr. Griffin, to make it very clear, that for over 40 years, WHPR TV and radio has created a trustworthy reputation as it respects to the people's station, a voice for the community. So our primary goal is to utilize these airways to uplift, enhance the quality of life for our youth, families, and the community at large. So when I think about this post-election show, I'm just, as you can hear, I can't even sit down because, Mr. Griffin, you know that prior to the presidential election, that we're receiving calls from our viewers asking for help and understanding the election process and getting more information about these candidates. And that's our president said, Maxine, we must do something about this. And that's how Truth to Power was born, and God blessed us with a Darwin Griffin. So I'm just excited this morning to just hear what's going on. And Mr. Joe Persons, we love you dearly for your transparency, for laying it out there. We welcome you. You're part of the WHPR family. We can't thank you enough for the information you brought this morning that certainly inspired and informed me. I didn't know when they said that Oakland has a purpose, but just so much that we're excited about, and the part that WHPR TV and radio can play as we move forward with this general election.
Well, you know, Ms. Willis, the thing is that both Joe and Joel, you know, as they both echoed, I think the general theme from the first hour of the show is that don't take black votes for granted, don't take black voters for granted, and you need to spend some dollars in the community where you want to get the black voters to support you at. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, don't count us out. We can make a difference. We are thrilled. We're thrilled that Wayne County trusted us with their advertising, with the millage for the Wayne County Public Transit. That passed. They spent dollars with us, Joe. Mm-hmm. We aired the commercials. The Donovan McKinney campaign. 13 districts who ousted the Congress member Sharif, who was supported by AIPAC. But he won. They invested with us. When we say we are the voice of the people, we not only air the commercials, but Mr. Griffin, you know, as many of our viewers know, we invite these candidates to come on. We give them a half-hour platform so that not only does our viewers get a chance to see and hear their advertising, but get to feel their heartbeat. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for us? So as you can hear, I'm thrilled this morning. I'm excited about the potential of what we have and looking forward to continuing to play a role in helping our viewers get the right information. And we are making an appeal to these candidates to reach out to us. Let's keep it going. Don't look at us as this little black station in Highland Park, but we have our finger on the pulse. The people are looking to us to say, give us information. That's why Truth to Power is one of our most successful shows, because it's providing information on the insight on political news, economical development, social issues, local entrepreneurship, to bringing in not only local but national leaders to help our viewers make informed decisions about the issues that affect their lives. And at the end of the day, people's lives are at stake. So we are very grateful that we played a role in this election, getting the millage passed, and our 13th district Donovan McKinney campaign, who trusted us to air the commercial, who believed in us. And that's all we're asking the people to do. We can make a difference. Don't count us out.
And you know, and that's very profound, Ms. Willis, you know, what you're saying, because the fact is that a lot of organizations need to also hear you and hear your passion when it comes to the station and how much the station believes in the people that listen to us, that look at us, that believe in us, that are educated by some of the shows that we have here at the station, and especially by some of the guests like a Joe Person or Joe Rutherford or Norman Clement or others that had been on this show. And, you know, and to the candidates, I say, instead of the words win or lose, I'll say win or learn. And the thing is that candidates aren't losers in our book here at WHPR. They are candidates that learned valued lessons. We had Chris Swanson, Genesee County Sheriff, with us a few weeks ago. And he invested money in us. But he had a real, and I think that we made him a part of the family here, as we do with every person that comes in our doors.
Absolutely.
You know, Haley Stevens was a part of the family. Chris Swanson was a part of the family. We've had Tyrone Carter. We've had Cory Booker. We've had Jasmine Crockett, Jim Clyburn. I mean, you know, so many people that have been a part of the WHPR family. And now, as you just said, we have SMART, the transit system throughout, you know, the Southern Michigan. I forgot what that acronym stands for, but we appreciate, you know, all the work when Paul came here to the studio last week and promoted why the SMART buses are very vital to transporting people around Southern Michigan. And then the other thing is that Donovan McKinney came here and invested in the station. This little black station is, you know, we all know it to be. But this was just like the little engine that could. I think I can. And we kept going. And we're going to continue to go. But it takes a village to go with. And now I'm going to put out an edict. This is from me, Darwin Griffin, here at Troop to Power at WHPR, Highland Park. We represent Highland Park. We represent Highland Park strong here at 160 Victor. And we need to make certain that the people that are running for office here in Highland Park, they know there's going to be a real interesting election that's going to come up November the 3rd for the city of Highland Park, and the people that are looking for support for city council, and especially for mayor here in the city of Highland Park. So one of the things that I would like to go and put to Glenda McDonald, the current mayor, and to Mama Shu, who wants to be the next mayor, that we host a candidate forum for the contenders that are looking to be the next mayor here in Highland Park. So we can do it. We can get it done. We, you know, have had candidates. As you know, Miss Willis, we had who? We had Alyssa Slotkin and Hill Harper was supposed to do a candidate forum debate here at WHPR TV a couple of years ago. And things happened where, you know, and we were publicized all over Wayne County that we were going to be having this debate. And that was supposed to be on August the 26th. I'm sorry, July the 26th.
That's right.
And I'll never forget that date, because it lives in infamy in me, in terms
That's
of saying,
right, yeah,
because
that's
myself and Bishop Edgar Van were supposed to be the moderators for that debate.
That's right.
And
That's
they got
right.
a lot of attention from not only the other stations like the Channel 2s and 4s and 7s, but a lot of media was also looking at us, as well. But my edict, my ask to Mama Shu, to Mayor Glenda McDonald, is we'd love to host a mayoral debate or a mayoral candidate forum for them. And then if we can also get some of the council people, we'd love to have them to come here. And we, can pretty much like orchestrate it here at Watkins Broadcasting. And, with our great engineers, with Tim, with Henry, with Lorenzo, we can put this on. So again, that's my charge, that's my ask, and I hope that we can make that happen. But Ms. Willis, I know you talked about the transit and say yes for the transit millage. I know you were saying yes about Donovan McKinney coming on the show and advertising with us. Give your elevator speech, your pitch, just like I was saying to Bernard Parker III when he came over here and was promoting the transit, millage. And also Paul Johnson that came over here. But give your pitch to anybody that's viewing this show today with Joe Person, myself, and you. Why should people come and advertise here or promote their business or promote their candidacy or promote their, organization here at WHPR TV?
First, let me say this, and thank you, Mr. Griffin, for giving me this opportunity, because we truly appreciate the opportunity to discuss how our station can help with campaign needs. We are excited about the possibility of utilizing all of our media platforms so that we can effectively promote those persons, their campaign, increase their visibility, but more importantly, how to connect their message with the audience. That's what matters the most. We don't use the cookie cutter approach. Just take the money, take a commercial, put it on, and that's it. We want to feel your heartbeat. What is your message? Because it's more than just advertising. It's all about making a difference. So we look forward to meeting with any candidates about their campaign goals. And as Joe mentioned, you got to develop a plan. There's got to be a strategic advertising plan, and we can explore the ways that WHPR TV can help strengthen, and how can we amplify the message? Because we find for many who don't have a big pot of money, but it's like, I got a little money, but what's the best way I can utilize the money that I have in investing in advertising? And that's where WHPR TV, that's where we specialize in helping to placement is very important, but utilizing, maximizing the dollars that they have to meet the needs that will help reach the people. We want people, when you come into these doors, when you come into our station, we want it to be an experience that you will never forget. That's why many people come back. And Joe, I hope you're saying that's one of the reasons you're sticking in there with us.
No, no, you know what? You left the word out. The word that I like that I'm going to say is, this place is authentic. That's how I feel when I come in here, just like last night or whenever Darwin calls me and say, we need a co-host, or can you come? And I mean, he'll call me at the last minute. I will stop on a dime and give you 9-cent change because I feel good about you. And the thing about it is that I'm going to be pushing and telling these folks, this is the preferred station. I want you to spend money because it's a black station. Let's stop all this playing. But because your station is authentic and the way you've treated me was great. And by the way, the wife said, tell you hello because she really appreciated that when you came to our Politics in the Park, that you took a moment to acknowledge that while people look at me as the great man out front, it's really an even greater woman that runs this organization, who's our secretary of the club that keeps it going. She is the engine that could, and will keep our club, our organizations running. Just like you, Ms. Willis, you keep this station up and running. The fact that you, ladies and gentlemen, I have been here and had to take a pill, and Ms. Willis a stop on a dime. What she's doing might be on a phone call just to go get me some water to make sure that I'm taken care of. That's authentic, because I've been in other radio stations. They set me in a green room. They talk like she says it's a commercial. You out the door and won't even look. She prepares a lunch for us, donuts, coffee, whatever we want while we're coming here. Other stations, a lot of them, they don't do that. And she doesn't have the budget that these other stations. So folks, spend some money, with WGPR, period. Stop playing. Come spend some money. And like I said, this is my pledge to y'all. All of these folks that's coming to me telling me, well, we want you to work for us. No, I will work for you under this condition. Go spend some money with WGPR. Period.
And WHPR.
And WHPR. Yeah, spend some money with them. What's that? 107.5 FM, if I'm correct, right?
That's GPR. Correct.
Oh, that's GPR. Okay. Spend some money. That's all I'm saying. Y'all, and thank you, Miss Willis.
Well, we appreciate you. And again, because I knew behind every great man, I know there's a woman. So I had to give your wife her props. And it was just an honor and a privilege to meet her. And, I've certainly, on a personal note, I have just admired how when you come to that station to talk about your wife, that I just had to give you to pat you on the back for that, because that's what a real man does. And I also have to give recognition. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm able to do without the support of our president, Mr. R.J. Watkins, and our vice president, Mr. Henry Tyler. They are just as committed and stand behind me 100% in doing whatever we have to do to treat our guests with the utmost respect. Yes, we're working on a shoestring budget, and Mr. Watkins often says, Maxine, look at what we're able to do with little or nothing. Just imagine what we can do when our budget increases. So, the community is getting the best of what we have right now. But once the dollars are invested in us, because we could do more, we could enhance our productions, we can do greater things and be a greater service to our community. So we have to create win-win situations. We don't want this to be a lopsided deal. We're all about making an investment in our community. Even just thinking about this millage that just passed for the transit, just think that 350,000 people in Wayne County had fewer ways to get around, to go to their job, to go to appointments. Just think about that. But now that has passed, we take pride knowing that we may have a little role in helping over 350,000 people be able to get around, now to be able to get to that job, that doctor's appointment, get to class, get to work. So this is what we look at. We don't look at just give us the money, let us advertise, and that's it. We look at the bigger picture, because our prayer has been from day one, Lord, allow us to use these airwaves to uplift, educate, motivate, not just to air commercials, but to make a difference. And we can do that. We can do that if they just, our track record shows when those do invest in us, there's a return. It's a win. But it's so far and few. And sometimes as emotional as I get, but I just get, it just boggles my mind that we live in a society, in a city where we are growing by leaps and bounds, trying to find every way we can to communicate. and they're overlooking us. But don't overlook us. And Joe, I thank you. I thank you, Mr. Griffin, Joe, and all of those that have been to our station, that have been our champions and cheerleaders. So we know the best is yet to come. We don't feel defeated. First of all, we know that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. We know that we are God's children. We know what we pray for, so we're hopeful. We'll never lose hope. But along the journey, it gets a little lonely. And when you rob Peter to pay Paul, that's like my uncle said, that's a bitter pill. But at the end of the day, WHPR TV and radio, we are excited at how far God has brought us. We have weathered many storms, and we know there's still some to come. But as long as we keep our eyes on the prize of making a difference to the people, that's what our charge and our responsibility is as a TV and radio broadcasting station. We have a team that's second to none, who's been with us for over 30 and 40 years. That says a lot.
So, Ms. Willis, give the phone number if somebody wants to either advertise, they want to sponsor a show, or they want to get their own show here at WHPR.
Absolutely.
What's the number that they can contact you at?
They can call us at 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. We'll be more than happy to speak with them, set up an appointment. As I said before, we don't do the cookie-cutter approach. We bring you in and talk about and strategize ways that we can meet your needs, so it's a win-win situation for the client, for the station, and for the community.
Well, I know that everybody has come here to the station, including Joe Person, that they've said nothing but great things about your hospitality that you provide to everybody. Like he said, you make sure that he gets water to keep him hydrated when he comes here on the air. Other people that have come here, the first thing they ask about is Miss Willis going to be there? And, you know, it's like, it's not a visit to WHPR TV without getting a chance to be able to see and have an opportunity to go and receive that great hospitality that Maxine Willis provides everybody that comes in this door. And the thing is that I have so many people that they just look forward to coming back, you know, to this station, to be on the various shows because of Maxine Willis. And I know there's going to be a big unity rally today over at Renaissance High School this afternoon. And, you know, I know that a lot of the people that's over there, the candidates, the people that supported candidates, will all, when they see Miss Willis today, they're going to probably jump for joy and say, Miss Willis, what's that number again? So get that number again, Miss Willis, so they can contact you to go and be a part
I sure will
of
give
the
them that
WHPR
number,
family.
and I'm certainly going to be right in their faces, too, just making sure that they don't leave us out, making sure that they call 313-868-6612. As our president, Mr. Watkins, said, the best is yet to come, and they haven't seen anything yet. So when they invest in us, they invest in themselves, they invest in the community, and that's what it's all about.
Well, Miss Willis, we want to thank you for coming on Truth to Power today. We missed you here at the station today. Joe probably was ready to go into the boardroom and look to see if you had some of the fruit, and some of the vegetables, and some of the juice, and you know, the waters and lunch meats and everything that you normally provide for a lot of the guests that come here to the station. So again, you know, we'll have to correct that the next time that Joe comes back to the station again.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to tell you, he's got the biggest smile on his face right now. And probably nobody else can put that smile on his face with the exception of his family and his wife, Sharon Person. But, you know, when I mentioned Maxine Willis, that smile just gets broader and broader.
That's it.
So, you know, again, we thank you for coming on and kind of giving everybody an opportunity to know that we welcome them here at WHPR TV. So we're going to take another break, And Ms. Willis, thank you. We'll see you later on this afternoon, and we're going
Yes,
to take
sir.
a break.
Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. And you have a great rest of this morning, and we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with my in-studio guest, Joe Person. Stay tuned.
We are now streaming on Alexa. That's right, we're streaming our TV audio worldwide on Alexa. To get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
now Alexa will allow you to listen to your favorite TV programs. Remember, to get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
we're streaming our TV audio worldwide.
From the desk of RJ Watkins, this is a WHPR editorial.
I'm Ariana Watkins, and for decades, my father, RJ Watkins, has served our community with quality radio and TV service through WHPR and Roku. Today, I'm proud to stand beside him, continuing the legacy built on trust, innovation, and your support. We're here because of you, and we'll keep bringing you the best now and for generations to come. Thank you for supporting us and growing with us.
This has been a WHPR editorial.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
If you enjoy the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
All media platforms are engaged. Copy.
Get ready to launch your show or product.
Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that.
Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
Special edition of Super Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are joined here in the studio this morning with Joe Person. And Joe, let's kind of dissect this whole election process that occurred here in this primary. Just to give a quick little civics lesson, everybody knows that this is what was called the midterm election. The midterm election is as it states, this is the election, because every 4 years there's a presidential election. So we know we have another presidential election that's coming up 2 years from now in 2028. And the midterm election is the election where usually you see a lot of the state, like when you see state reps, you see a lot of people that are running for governor, senate, a lot of those judges positions. And there's 2 election cycles that go on in that year. The primary is usually the first Tuesday in the month of August, and the general election is usually the first Tuesday in the month of November. Candidates are looking for your support in both elections, but the primary election sorts through all of the people that are vying to be on the ballot in November. This year, we had, as you know, we've all been stating, we had a convention back in April 19th to be exact. And during that convention for the Democratic side, I think the Republicans had their convention in March, if I'm not mistaken. But the Democratic convention in April determined who the candidates would be in the general election, and that was for Secretary of State, that was for Attorney General, that was for the Board of Regents, Board of Trustees, and the Board of Governors in the various universities, Wayne State, U of M, and Michigan State. There was also the Michigan State Board of Education. Candidates were, looking for the support in that race. In addition to some of the individuals that were looking for your support for judicial spots here in the state of Michigan as well. But there is going to be a nominating convention, and I'm probably speaking to the choir when I talk to you about this, Joe, that there's going to be a nominating convention that's going to go on this month, and that nominating convention is to see who will be placed on the ballot for the November election. So now they've sorted through all of the people that wanted to get your support. So now all those positions are sorted through, and now at this nominating convention, you'll see the people that are on the ballot from the governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, Congressional, Senate, and some of the judicial positions as well. My new role with the state now is I am the NAACP, Michigan State Conference Political Action Chair for the state of Michigan. And what I do is I do educational and listening sessions throughout the state of Michigan with all the 13 congressional districts throughout the state. There were some districts they really wanted us to really concentrate on because they know about the low propensity for people to get out and vote. One of the things, Joe, that I'm very proud of, and to our viewers, is that we did step the game up in this election, especially in this midterm election and this primary election, and more people got out to vote. Now, Joe, you and I have talked about this, before, as to what was the attraction to get more people to come out. Was it the candidates? Was it the issues? Was it the millages? What was it that really got people to come out? But whatever it was, we got to do that more so in November. And we've got to do it again. And we just can't take these elections for granted. But the main thing that I tell people that they need to make certain of is that they need to check to make sure that they are registered to vote. Joe, you talked about a plan of action that candidates need to have. And voters need to have a plan of action as well for how they're going to get to the polls, if they're going to vote absentee, which is usually about 45 days before the election, or if they're going to vote early voting, which is usually 9 days before the election, or if they're going to wait until election day on November the 3rd to vote in person. What were you going to say?
First of all, we left out one group of people. At the convention on April 19th, we also, not only the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, but our state Supreme Court justices, too.
Well, that's what I said, judicial. But yes,
Oh, judicial,
okay.
right. Well, but I had to tell folks, not you, but I had to tell folks, we pick our state Supreme Court justices at a convention. Me personally, I have a problem with that. I think that the state Supreme Court justice, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of State need to go through a vigorous primary campaign and go to all 83 counties. What people fail to realize, while we set records at the Michigan Democratic Convention on April 19th, 7,200 and some odd people, you're talking about 7,200 people that are picking three of the most important positions in the whole state, where there's 5 million people that live here in the state of Michigan, and 7,000 people are the people that make that decision. Now, on August 29th, we'll probably have more, but basically the slate is set. We know who's going to run for governor. We know, we don't know who's running. At that convention, she'll be picking the lieutenant governors. And there'll be some other positions, I believe, but most of it is the lieutenant governor.
Well, that's something that she will, there's probably, and that's something we need to talk about before we close this segment out, as to, there's now the only person right now that's still left that needs to be determined is who's going to be the person that's going to run on both sides.
The lieutenant governor.
For the lieutenant governor spot, for the Republican side as well as the Democratic side. There's probably short lists that people had. And just like when you mentioned about Vince Gregory before, Vince Gregory was on a short list that Gretchen Whitmer had when she was trying to decide who she was going to pick as a lieutenant governor candidate, along with the current lieutenant governor, Garland Gilchrist, as well as the former Wayne County Sheriff, the late
Benny
Napoleon. And there were other people that were on that short list. And I think right now, myself, Lexus Ramsey, the first vice chair, myself, the second vice chair, Keith Williams, yourself, Joe, with being the president of the Oakland County Black Caucus, we were all on a call with some people with Jocelyn Benson's camp to make a suggestion about who we thought could be people that we thought could make a good lieutenant governor candidate. So let's delve into that for a little bit in these few minutes that we have left.
I know this.
What are you hearing?
I'm hearing that, here's the thing, and ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm going to do. I notice that when I say something, it sticks. And people like to be able to say, like, for example, somebody called me and asked me about they were running for office. And I didn't say what office they were running for because they wanted to go back and say, well, Joe Person asked me to run for this office. So until I hear these folks throw their name in, I'm going to go moot on that only because I know it should be probably a woman with John James because you got to, secure the woman's vote in the state. I think that Jocelyn Benson is going to pick a man, and it basically probably has to be a black man to galvanize the people in the state of Michigan. And don't rule out them trying to capitalize on what they perceive as a great victory for Dr. Abdul El Sayed, that we're going to try and go pick somebody that's an Arab to get on this ticket with Jocelyn Benson. I look at the whole picture in terms of them trying to capitalize because our Democratic Party tries to pick and choose what's best for some of the folks, as they say, the status quo. And let's deal with that. A lot of people view the status quo as Haley Stevens, other people, so forth and so on. And a lot of the people that won weren't the status quo. In certain elections that were around the state, they didn't want the status quo, so they picked people that had never held a seat before, that weren't elected officials, and they chose them. And on the other hand, there's some elections that they chose the experienced person, even though that person, when you went to look at his record in terms of what he or she was doing, it wasn't a great record. So that's why I say when you hear the names, like we said, I've heard the names, just as some of them, they're just not the people I choose. The people that were losers in the last Senate race, for example, I mean, it is what it is. They talk about Hill Harper. They talk about maybe Mr. Adam Hollier. They talk about a lot of these other folks. There's a lot of names that are out there. You know, there are a lot of names that are out there. But at the end of the day, what are you bringing to the table? And let's think about this. The person that's going to be the second in command, can he run the state? That's a big job, being the governor. That's a big job. So you just can't put somebody in there that's just, oh well. But at the end of the day, all of us know that basically the lieutenant governors, their only job is to be the president of the Senate. That's the most important job they have, or second most important job. The first most important, if something happens and the governor steps down, you're automatically the person that becomes the new governor. So we're going to see, but everybody's waiting for those two people, and that will shape the demographics, that will shape the policies, that will shape how people vote. And the other factor there, I remember this, when President Obama got elected, it was the first first black man elected. And I remember them interviewing Condoleezza Rice, who was on board with John McCain. And she was crying, and the reporter asked her, "Why are you crying? Are you crying because John McCain, lost the election?" She said, "No, it had nothing to do with John McCain. I'm crying because the black man that won is my people. Whether he was a Democrat, Republican, he was black like me. He looks like me." For history now, people can't take that away from us black people, saying that we haven't had a black president. That's one of the boxes checked. You know what I mean? That's the top ceiling? We're the president of the most powerfulest country in the world. And I'm going to go back to another question. You asked and you said, looking at this election, and this is a midterms. Midterms are a referendum on how the president, the governor, all of the individuals who are in a position of authority that are holding office, this is a referendum on them. Usually the individual who's in the White House, whether he's a Democrat or a Republican, usually sometimes loses the House, loses the House. And this may be the same thing. The person that has pushed this, and the reason I think some things are going to happen in Trump, is Donald J. Trump. He's gotten listen, for black folk, for example, some of the generals that he's gotten rid of, some of the sergeant majors, some of the colonel, all of these people I know some of those people. The people that got fired, my family, I had several family members that have lost their jobs in Washington, D.C. Trump is going after people, black people in particular. So black people have a reason to vote. I already know in Washington, D.C., there's some groups that are coming together strategically that are out there on the grounds right now. Now that it's over with, okay, we know who the people are, let's go. Our strategic plan has to be this: spend some money in the black community to get us out to vote. And people, and I heard somebody say to me, well, that's pay to play. No, when you pay white folk to come in and canvass and do the things that you do, it's fine. But the minute that you say pay black people, all of a sudden it's pay to play. And let me give you an example. Every time something comes up and it's about some money coming to the black community, we got to study it. We got to look at it. It's a handout. But if it goes into another community that doesn't look like me, it is a step up. They're pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. I just know this: if you do not spend money in the black community to help the governor, the Democratic nominees win, you're going to lose this.
Well, and I totally agree with you, Joe, because you can't, as I keep saying over and over again, you can't take us for granted.
Yes.
You can't take our vote for granted. You can't just automatically think that just because of the fact that we're black, we're going to automatically vote Democratic. The biggest thing that people don't really realize is that black people are very educated, and we do our homework, we do our research. We look at the receipts for a lot of people that are running. As you know, we had Rashida Tlaib in the 12th Congressional District, who's not a black woman. Some people, when they see the name Rashida, they sometimes automatically don't know if she's black, Hispanic, Muslim. They don't know what descent she may be, because most of the campaign literature you see says the word or the name Rashida on it. But the other thing too is that she ran against two black people. One was the mayor of Inkster, and I believe still is, and that's Byron Nolan. And another one was a former legislator. Her name is Chanel Jackson. And she still got reelected, and she still got reelected by a sizable margin. When Cherie Danadar won, there was like about 12 people that were on the ballot that were running against him when he first won. And I don't know if there was any other persons other than the African Americans that were running against him. I know Adam Hollier, I know Sherry Gated Nogo, I know Sharon McPhail, Ralph Gottby, I think, was on there at one point. And all those candidates, they weren't successful. But the one thing that I have to give Donovan credit, Donovan took a playbook out of Cherie Danadar's book. And Donovan didn't just campaign in the city of Detroit. Donovan campaigned outside of Detroit. Donovan was out on election day, because I had somebody tell me they saw Donovan out in Taylor, Michigan, instead of at where a lot of people may have been at Northwest Activity Center, or at the Butzel, Recreation Center, or at some of the major churches, But Donovan was out in the suburbs because he knew that's where a lot of his vote were coming from. Detroit, they love Donovan. And just like you said the other day, that here, they gave him a standing ovation.
2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
For him to do something that most people, those 12 individuals that ran against him 4 years ago, the couple individuals that ran against him 2 years ago, and now here Donovan comes in here. And just as Joe, you and I both know, and I'm going to give Donovan his credit and his kudos, because when we see Donovan later on today, I'm going to give Donovan the credit that Donovan is due, because of how he was, because Donovan ran and Cherie Danadar beat Donovan for a state rep seat that Donovan was vying in the in the northern part of the city of Detroit. And now here, vindication. Now Donovan beats him for this seat. And I really look at Donovan as a very smart young man. I think Donovan has such promise here in the state of Michigan, not just here in the 13th Congressional District, but Donovan's poise, Donovan's charisma, Donovan's electability makes him a very, very viable candidate. And I think, to be honest with you, Joe, that you look at John Conyers is probably smiling,
yes,
from up above, looking down at Donovan and saying, I'm proud of you, young man. Represent the district well. because look at all the years that John Conyers represented the district. And then I also have to give credit to John Conyers III got elected. John Conyers ran for those same seats that trying to ascend into his father's seat. Now John Conyers won a state Senate seat. And I give him a lot of credit, and I hope that he does well in that seat. And the one thing that we're finding too is that write-in candidates can win. So people that may have been write-in candidates that ran, everybody always looks at what happened with Mike Duggan 12 years ago when he was a write-in candidate and ran against the late Benny Napoleon and won 2 additional terms against Coleman Young Jr. and against Anthony Adams. Now here you looked at one other person, and I'm going to give a shout out to him, and that's Willie Burton.
Yes.
Willie Burton was a police commissioner for the city of Detroit. Willie Burton ran for city council in District 5 and just lost to Renata Miller, the current city councilwoman in District 5 that took Mary Sheffield's seat when Mary Sheffield ascended to be the mayor. Willie Burton won. And Willie Burton, I did a candidate forum several months ago, and he was there at the candidate forum, and he was a write-in candidate. And that race was a highly contested race that he won for that state rep seat. So the point that I'm saying to a lot of people is that regardless of whether or not if you are on the ballot or you're a write-in candidate, if it's your time,
it's your time.
It's your time.
You know, I remember President Obama when he came to Detroit, and part of his stump speech was he was talking to people. He said people would be booing somebody. He said, "Don't boo, go vote." He says, and if you're really upset about it, go get a clipboard and go get some signatures and run. If you look at all of the people across this country, his legacy is solid, because all of these young people everywhere, Donovan McKinney, we can go on, Adam Hollier, all of these folks that were young when Obama ran, you know, he pushed them and said, let's go. He started a program, said, I am my brother's keeper. That meant for us to get the education that we need and start running for office. So I just look at this election, and I'm gonna be honest with you. It's gonna be an awesome election, but it's gonna be a contentious one. But the question is, will the Democrats spend some money in the black communities? Because it's remember I told you this is a purple state, ladies and gentlemen. What that simply means, they vote issues a lot of times, and whether it be a Democrat or a Republican. Will they vote for John James as the Republican governor or vote for Jocelyn Benson? But Jocelyn Benson, the Democrats had to be willing to put some money into the communities. The Republicans are already doing it. They're already trying to pick off. I understand last night there was a organization that had a John James supposedly on it. I don't know because I haven't followed up to find out. But that shows 2 days later, he's out campaigning with black folk, okay? So Jocelyn Benson and everybody all the way up and down that Democratic ticket, you got your work cut out.
Well, they got their work cut out, but they also need to hear what you, with Joe, with Maxine Willis, and what I'm saying. You want the black support, you need to invest in the black support. And you need to put money where your mouth is at. And that's what it really boils down to be. And somebody, a mentor of mine, he was the first county clerk in the state of Michigan, Marcus Gray, said to me yesterday when he called me from Washington, D.C., he said, Darwin, the catchphrase for the Democrats should be, make it emphatic, vote Democratic.
Right.
And I just said, wow, Marcus, can I use that? Marcus said, man, I sent you a vest that had that on the back of the vest. So I don't know where you put it, but but the thing is that the Democrats need to stand tall, stand strong, and they need to make certain that not on my watch will somebody come in and win the seat that they feel should be theirs. So again, you've been watching a special edition of Truth to Power. My special guest today has been Joe Person. Thank you, Sharon, for allowing him to come here and spend some time with us today for these 2 hours. To Joel Rutherford, and I think I know his wife's name, but I don't want to say the wrong name, so I'm just going to say Joe Person's wife, to allow him to spend time with us today. And also want to just tell everybody to thank you to those that voted, those that didn't get a chance to vote. Make certain that you let your voices be heard in November. Again, have a great weekend and unite your party. And tell somebody that you are very thankful that God woke you up today, because everybody didn't get that wake-up call. Have a great rest of this weekend.